All right, Eric, before we get to the hard-hitting stuff, we started this Christmas song bracket challenge. It was yesterday we launched this, so there's like a million different songs. You're supposed to vote, but then Glenn Suter came on, and he wanted to vote for a song that's not even in the bracket, so I'm like, well, if Suits is doing this. I found this gem. Colson, fire away. Eric, I want your initial you're Simon Cowell. This is American Idol. I want your initial raw reaction to this song right here.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose.
Does it get better than Creed singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Like,
You would even say it's
Not bad.
sorry, Brenda Lee rocking around the Christmas tree, but you've got competition or whatever. So apparently that's not getting in the bracket today. You can vote for things like Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You," which we've all heard a million times. It's up against Brenda Lee rocking around the Christmas tree, and you can vote on the Capital Ford Lincoln text line 306-936-6262. Are you guys festive around your house? Like, will you put on Christmas carols when you, like, in the background when you're doing stuff, whether just working around the house or decorating or Christmas thing?
Absolutely. You know what? Even in my car, we got a station here in Calgary that plays nothing but Christmas carols for like 2 months before Christmas, and I got to be honest, I'm glued to it. You know, it takes your mind off all the other garbage going on in your life, right? I mean, it's just it forces you to get into a better spirit. So I got no problem with it. Let me ask you this: when you look at the bracket, I suggested "Blue Christmas" by Elvis. Did it make the cut or no?
Colson, did it make the cut? And if it didn't, why not?
I'm pretty sure it's on there. Hold on.
Okay.
Yep.
Because
It'll be going
if we
up
were
against to get last Christmas.
Yeah. Because if we were to go to my mom's house if we were to go to my mom's house in Saskatoon, in the basement, in the wooden record player, which also has the radio component, there's still 8 tracks in there and albums. And Elvis Blue Christmas will be on one of those albums. And that is a fine song. And it's funny you mentioned this. I worked at a radio station that did the Christmas thing, and you do it for a month. It was a refreshing change as a DJ, as if you're a music DJ, from all the other garbage you play for the other 11 months. It was a real nice treat. Some people think, don't you get tired? It's like, well, no, because all the songs are usually kind of fun and happy and uplifting, and you don't, and they're like 2.5 minutes long, so you don't ever get caught up in, except there's that one Boney M song that's about 5 minutes. But other than that, you're in, you're out.
Yeah,
and
what it's forced the world to come up with, like that Creed version you just played. Like, you'd think that, like maybe 15, 20 years ago, we were stuck with the same like it would have been unfathomable 15 years ago, 20 years ago, for a radio station to play nothing but Christmas carols, because there were the same 20, Bing Crosby's White Christmas. There, you know what I mean? Like all the staples that are still in your mom's 8-track cassette player. But now, every pop star worth their name is jumping in there. And look at a guy like Michael Bublé. He's brought in a whole new catalog all by himself, right? So there's lots of options out there.
And if you're a musician, especially one that's getting started, and you have any kind of traction, like your management company be like, you're going to do a Christmas album because it's automatic guaranteed sales. You sing those same 10 songs that everybody else has sung. But I think one of the best, and I read this today, Mariah Carey every year makes at least $3 million off "All I Want for Christmas Is You." And that sort of kept her relevant because she was big in the 90s, and then she went away for a while, and then that song exploded, about 10, 15 years ago, and now it's nothing but easy street for her when it comes to the holidays.
And she's built an empire around it, a second empire, because she now tours all over the world based on that song. It's just Christmas shows. Every day for 2 months leading into Christmas, she's playing somewhere in North America or the world, bringing Christmas cheer based largely on everybody being there for the one song they're all waiting for at the very end, which is her signature song. So good for her. It's an industry.
All right, let's talk hockey for Southie Mainline Chrysler, King of Trucks, Eric Francis. He's joined the All Sports Cage on Mondays and Wednesdays at this time. So last night, the Calgary Flames, who needed a win, were up against a team that needed a win, I thought, more desperately than anybody else, with a coach on the hot seat, Andrew Burnett, in the Nashville Predators. And in watching that game, and I watched most of it, it almost doesn't make sense how Nashville can have that much talent and that little result.
Yeah, it's eerily similar to the New York Rangers, isn't it? Where you've got all this talent and going to the season. Look, the Rangers went into the season a bigger favorite than Nashville, but Nashville probably went into the season with the most heightened expectations of all the teams after what they did in the summer with Marchessault and adding Stamkos. So it was in the Flames, from the view of the Flames, it was a much needed win. They'd lost 8 in a row on the road and had gone 25 games in a row without scoring more than 3 goals. To finally crack that barrier last night, that leaves, so they had 25 games in a row without more than 3. Second place on that list, the Nashville Predators, who are now at 8 games in a row without scoring 3 or more. Like, that's an incredibly obscure, but incredibly significant record when you look at, it's important to kind of score goals. It's kind of half of what you have to do to win games. Luckily for the Flames, they're good at keeping it out of their net, but until they start to figure out how to score more, they're going to slowly continue to fade out of this playoff race. Certainly by the new year, they'll really start to feel it. Now, they are home for their next 5 games, and they have one of the best home records in the league, so it'll be interesting to see what the Flames can do. But going back to Nashville, I don't think there's much question that they're going to have to do something soon. Like, if I hate to think of anybody getting fired just before Christmas. In fact, a lot of companies have a moratorium on that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
The
That
NHL
would be awful.
Part of that. But, these guys' money is guaranteed. And I think Andrew Brunette would probably be the least shocked of anybody if he does finally get the axe. And my guess would be then that Barry Trotz would probably take over behind the bench himself, on an interim basis, and we'll see where it went. But soon something's got to give, because not only are they not winning, but in a lot of nights they're not even coming close.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. There was a quote put up on the screen before the game from Jonathan Marchessault talking about how from night to night, he doesn't know who his line mates are, or something to that effect, where he's played with so many different combinations of guys. And you're like, because at the start of the season, all you heard from Marchessault was just, there was the shots and the bitterness towards Vegas. But hey, Nashville, it's going to be great. Team, high power, roster, all of that. Where now it looks like, no, he's got nothing to do with Vegas now. That there's the management of the roster and how it's played out seems to be the big thing. And then you forget they have Steve as Stamkos, and you see Saros in goal. I said it's mind-boggling. It just doesn't make sense how they just can't put it all together.
No, it is quite stunning. I mean, and to make matters worse, Roman Josi left the game in the first period last night and did not return the rest of the night. Like, he is their most important player. I don't care who you've added up front. He stabilizes one of the best blue lines in the league over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And if he's gone for any length of time, that might be your ultimate sign that it's time to start to take a little bit different tact as you move forward, because they don't get any bigger than that.
So last night, the Edmonton Oilers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 2-1. So then I was on my phone and I checked the standings at the season we're in today. With the wild card, the Oilers are in. They're just barely in. Same with the on the flip side with Tampa. So, and everybody made a lot about Edmonton's starts and how they slowly. Is that basically what do you think we're going to get from the Oilers, is just kind of, they'll slowly just kind of middle and creep their way up if they get, I don't necessarily know if they're ever going to get to the top of the division, but they're just going to kind of middle their way in. And are they okay with that, keeping the spotlight off themselves?
Well, I'll be very surprised if they don't win the division. Like, I'll go that far. I know they had a bad start, but I don't think anybody in Edmonton was worried. As a matter of fact, I was having a good long chat with someone in Edmonton today who covers the team, Mark Spector, and to me, they've won 5 of their last 6. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, of course they have. Like, they'll quietly go about just doing that, and suddenly people in Toronto who kind of saw their rough start will go, oh, no, my God, look at that. The Oilers are 2 points out of leading the Pacific, and they were in last place at one point. So, look, they're clawing back into this race to the point where I think, like you said, I think they're in a playoff spot right now, or right there.
Yep.
And Zach Hyman hasn't even got started yet. Like, that's a 50-goal scorer from last year, and he's been horrific this year. Now he's going to continue to stay on a line. Now he's back from injury. I think he's got 3 goals his last 2 games. Like, just watch. Just if you have a pool and you have a chance to pick it up, Zach Hyman, please do so quickly, because him and so many of those other guys are just about to take fire. I really believe that. That's a team that should be in the Stanley Cup final again this year. I know that that's a bold statement given how many good teams there are in the West. But, you know, given how close they came last year and the experience they gleaned from it, no one should be surprised that the Oilers are doing what they're doing now, or if by the end of the year, everyone's picking them again to win the Cup.
Southey Mainline Chrysler, the king of trucks. It's worth the drive every time, guaranteed. It's Eric Francis, Inside the NHL. We do it Mondays and Wednesdays here on the all-new Sports Cage. Washington Capitals still surprising everybody with their... What the hell happened to Tom Wilson's face? Like, did he get hit with the puck where his cheek had bulged out like that? Did he block a shot with his face? Because, God, that looked painful.
So painful. And he stays in the game, and he scores 2 goals in that game. That's one of the great interviews we've seen all year long, basically saying, my dad always said, if you can still play, you keep playing. I mean, the guy looks like a chipmunk right now. It is fantastic. He's a poster boy for hockey in a lot of ways. And, you know, he is kind of symbolic of the resiliency of that team right now in Washington. Nobody thought they could do anything this year. They've got this Alexei Protas I'm a big fan of right now. He's 6'8", just a monster out there, and he's got the hands of a 5'8" guy. And, you know, guys like Andrew Mangiapane, who they brought in thinking that he would play on the first line, has been like a third-line stalwart, playing a really solid role in the third line. But, like, Connor McMichael, like, they've got some depth there that I don't think people thought they had. Dylan Strome is having a great season as well, one of the big leaders there. And then, of course, their backhand, you know, John Carlson. It's just a really, really good team. And Jacob Chikrin's been a great, great addition. I could just keep going on with all these guys. And they've even got a good tandem in net that I don't think anybody thought was going to be all that good with Logan Thompson and Darcy Kemper. So everything seems to be coming together with them. I won't be surprised if they kind of settle down a little and stop the pace that they're at right now, because I don't think they can continue it. But, man, good on them to do this all, especially of late, without Alex Ovechkin. In fact, they've kept their pace up, even though he's out of the lineup. And he's skating again. People have heard this already, so don't be surprised if the grade 8 returns to your TV even closer than you think.
The Russian gas. And here's the flip side. So you got Tom Wilson blocking shots with his face, and that's the ultimate toughness, because he's a tough guy in a tough guy sport. And then you have the New York Rangers, who have been accused of being too soft. And then they get rid of Jacob Trouba, the Trouba train, one of the guys who actually would play physical. He was the only intimidating guy out there, and they got rid of him. And I guess, you know, it all stems back to the summer and the trade and the not trade, and he's gone, and he's now an Anaheim Duck. Yes, they signed Shesterkin, and he is the best player on their team by far. But if you're the Rangers, you weren't a physically intimidating team to begin with. We saw that in the playoffs. And you get rid of one of the few tough guys you had. So does that mean Matt Rempe should be called up and stay up with the team for the rest of the season, just even if he's sitting on the bench, just for the threat of, well, the Rangers could do something? Because they don't have anybody else.
Look, their record with him in the lineup is ridiculous. Like, this guy's inspiring. The crowd loves him. The teammates love him. Look, he's one-dimensional. He can fight and add a little bit of intimidation, which in today's game, unfortunately, is not that big a part of the game anymore. But I'm with you. You're looking at ways to try and shake this up. You've already done that by throwing all these salvos into the media by saying you're going to trade Trouba and Kreider. I'm not sure what that accomplished other than bad PR and bad feelings, because Kreider's still on the team. Even if you do want to trade him, why would you throw that out there that you're going to trade him? And then I like the Rempire State. Not only is it one of the best nicknames in the NHL, but I love what he does. He's fearless, and he inspires a team that right now is leaderless. They would probably argue that they were leaderless before, and that's why they traded their captain, Jacob Trouba. Surely they're going to name a new captain soon. I'm assuming it's going to be Panarin, but who knows? And now you could have a new captain, and you could bring in Rempe to kind of shake things up too. So they're doing anything they can to try and shake it up. I think that one's an easy one.
Well, Mika Zibanejad, he's 31 years old. He's never been the best skater, and his production has really fallen off, especially when it comes to the goal scoring. And it's amazing when you can do a. Remember Chris Kontos?
Yeah.
Would disappear. You didn't even know he played regular season hockey, but then he had a couple of really good playoffs and all the Chris Kontos, the goal scorer. He's all of this. That's Mika Zibanejad. Yeah, it's great in the playoffs when there's a little bit of a spotlight and a microscope in a short series, and you can do that. But you're just seeing how it's just not working, and it's just not playing out for them. And it's funny. I don't know where they go from there, but it is the Rangers. They got more money than they know what to do with or whatever, and bad PR. It's so funny. I mean, with Juan Soto signing for $765 million, the Rangers probably get a little less space in the post and stuff like that, because although they're important, there's still other things that may dominate the market. So last night, you probably saw this. Winnipeg Jets beat the Boston Bruins 8-1. And then it was time to goon it up. And was it Trent Frederick that went after Gustafsson, who's not a fighter, which I'm like, I don't care in what era of hockey we're in. Fighters should fight fighters, okay? Or somebody in your weight class. And then it just didn't go down that way. And then the coaches were going, Sacco and Arneal were across the bench there at each other. Boston's already fired their coach. What are they going to do now? Because it's not getting better. Because Monty wasn't the problem. And
look, Trent Frederick is doing the best thing he can do to try and spur them on, right? These are the kind of things we were talking about with Rempe, inspiring a team and turning it around. You're getting killed 8-1. Why not just start dropping the gloves and fighting guys? But you want to make a bigger statement, you fight Logan Stanley, who's 6'7".
Yes.
Or you fight Adam Lowry. I'm not sure it's a smart thing to do health-wise, but if you want to really make a statement, that's what you can do. So, yeah, they're taking a lot of heat for dropping the gloves with Gustafsson, and Gustafsson got hurt in the fight, too. It's not good, right? Nobody wants to see that. So the Jets are furious about it. They didn't like the way you went about it. And, I want to make sure I watch that game when they play again, those two teams. But, yes, in Boston, it is a mess right now. They're running out of different things they can do to try and motivate the troops. Maybe, just maybe, they're not that good anymore. I mean, look, for many, many years, we knew that the time was running out for this team. And for many, many years, they could always count on Bergeron and Chara. No matter what happened, those two guys were on the ice like 60% of the time. Now, with those two guys being gone for quite some time now, they've had a hell of a time trying to replace them. In Boston, they tried to replace them with Elias Lindholm. We in Calgary could have told you that wasn't going to work very well. And then, if you think the big Russian Zadorov is going to replace the shoes of Chara, nice. Boy, you had another thing coming too. So those are poor man versions of those two superstars. I think any organization would miss, would be altered significantly with those two guys leaving. And I think they've had a hard time really, putting the pieces together ever since.
One of the things I love about Nikita Zadorov, he is like a poor man's Ilya Brizgalov, because you don't see many foreign players with personality that are a little nutso and crazy that are willing to just be out there or not. That's why I truly appreciate them, and sometimes the honesty. But here's the thing about the Bruins: before everyone, they're still in third place and they're still in a playoff spot. So if they can manage to hang on, but I don't know what they're going to do. But it just shows that there's a lot of other garbage teams in that Eastern Conference that to be like, listen, if there's a team that's right for the picking, it would be the Bruins. The Four Nations Cup rosters were released last week. I know there was a lot of Oiler fans complaining, Zach Hyman, who you had just said a few minutes earlier, hasn't really got going this year. There's enough other dudes on the roster to play with Connor McDavid. Okay, that'll be okay. But on the American side, and this is a good one, Tage Thompson. People are saying, and whether you agree or disagree, if he played in a bigger market, bigger than Buffalo, which doesn't get a lot of coverage, would he be on the team if he played for, let's say, the Rangers or the Capitals in a real media market where he could get exposure?
Potentially. I'm a big fan of this guy, and the season he put together 2 years ago was off the charts. But, last year he wasn't that good. And this year he hasn't been off to a great start. He's had some injury issues. I don't have a problem with like, I don't think it was necessarily just because he plays in a small market. I think it's because he hasn't had a great start to the season that there were detractors out there who didn't think he belonged on the team. So I you know, I don't have a problem with him being overlooked, and I don't think it's just because he's with Buffalo. I think it's because there's so many different options. And again, it's not just an all-star team, right? It's not like he plays with a ton of moxie and grit. Like, they've got enough scorers, and God knows the Americans are stacked more than maybe any team I've ever seen internationally. On paper, we'll see how it translates, but you need that balance of skill, moxie, leadership, sacrifice. And I'd like to think that they're also pretty hungry too, because they've only won once on the international stage, really, in these sort of competitions, and I think they're due to win a whole bunch of them. It scares me to say that. I hate saying that, but I've been fearing it for 20, 30 years. Because it's only a matter of time, numbers-wise, before they overtake our country and hockey players and programs. So this might be their time. This might be the turning point. And I don't think they needed Tage Thompson to do it. I can tell you that.
So I heard this the other day. 2 tickets for that game at the Bell Center, Canada versus the States, $5,700 roughly. Now, are you going to be there covering it? Like, do you know, like, do you have your assignment already? Are you actually going to be there that night covering that game?
I will be there. And it's funny because I just want to tell you, like, I looked into tickets before they went on sale to the general public. I had access to them, and tickets for the Canada-US game, first row balcony, were $1,000. That's before the scalpers got a hold of them. So now you're telling me that they're $5,700 for some tickets. Like, I believe it.
For 2.
I remember thinking, geez, who's going to pay more than $1,000 for the, to me, it's the best seat in the house. Those tickets, by the way, for the first 2 games of the tournament, Canada versus Sweden and then Finland versus America were $400 each. So they're not messing around. Like, the NHLPA and the NHL are working together on this one. They're doing this to make money. I mean, they're also doing it because we need best on best, and we should have been doing this for many, many years before. But they're trying to also eliminate the middleman and get rid of the scalper. Clearly, if you're telling me they're already at $5,700, they haven't succeeded. But I'm glad that they're at least getting their significant pound of flesh beforehand and eating into the scalper's profits.
Before we wrap on this subject, and I know because there's politics and other stuff, and we're not here to talk politics. You said best on best. Without a Russian team or a Czechoslovakian team or whatever, I truly don't think when you only have the 4 and you don't have the 6, that you're going to do that. But that's a different discussion, different day. Okay, let's wrap on football. Bill Belichick apparently showed up at the University of North Carolina for an interview to be the head football coach with a 400-page document of his plan, how to turn Tar Heel football around. Have you ever heard anything that crazy for a job interview?
No, that is crazy. I mean, most of us go to a job interview and try to just get the name of the guy who's going to be interviewing you, and that's never enough. But that's the Belichick way, isn't it? Right? This guy's always over the top, like manic in terms of the way he works at things and studies things. Hey, I got to tell you, I know there's a lot of people who don't like Bill Belichick, and I'm not here to say I think he's a great guy and he's misunderstood. But I am going to tell you that won't it be fascinating if that's the path he takes, and they give him, they say go for it, implement your 400-page plan. What an incredible study on the power of this incredible mind that football's been blessed with for so many years. I think it'd be fun to watch. I know it's good too, because a lot of people could root against him because he wears the black hat and people don't like that guy. But I also think that there's an element to it that, like, wow, we could all learn from a guy like that, and let's see what he has to teach us.
Well, so apparently the word is that he would go there and be the head coach, and in 3 years he would turn the team over to his son Steve, who is a defensive coordinator for the University of Washington. He would then become the head coach. That's a part of this deal. But keep in mind, Belichick has access to the best college football coach who is now retired, because they used to in Nick Saban. And he would put them on the map. Like, I have it on my phone. There's teams. Where is it? I have it here. Like, the University of Texas spent $20 million, $22 million in NIL money for players this year. Ohio State, $20 million. LSU 20 million, Georgia 18 million, Texas A&M 17 million, Michigan 16 million. Did you know that most of the whole Marshall Thundering Herd all went into the transfer portal today because their head coach left Marshall to move somewhere, so they all want to move schools with him? Because that's what college football has turned into. So Belichick is saying, I'll run a pro-style program that will get your kids NFL ready to pump these kids into the NFL. I love it if he does it, because that will be the ultimate experience, the overpaying to the coaching of it all.
So I listen, this is where it got to because of the courts, right? That the athletes were finally given their freedom to choose. It'd be tough to build any sort of program because there's no loyalty anymore, right? You have a bad year or you don't like the way the coach is playing, you just get into the portal the next year and go to the rival. So it'll be harder to me to build dynasties, or what he's trying to get to. And the second thing is, out of that 400-page document, what page do you think it was on when he said, and by the way, after year 3, I'm going to hand it to my son? Was that page 399?
Just sneak that one in. And here's the crazy thing. The transfer portal is open right now, but it is also bowl season. So a lot of these schools that are talking to these kids are saying, you come here, we'll pay you this money, but you can't play in the bowl games for your school because we don't want you to get hurt, which is not really fair to anybody. All right. And then we'll wrap on this. This is kind of loosely associated to a story that you told us in the spring, that at one time or another, you owned a hot tub, or maybe you still do. So the other night, the Cincinnati Bengals were beating the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow's house was broken into in Cincinnati. The woman at his house who called the cops is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. Her name is Olivia Ponton. She works for him. She is on Joe Burrow's personal payroll. Now, as someone in the investigative world of journalism that you are, and Aquatics as a hot tub owner, do we smell a story here that this Sports Illustrated swimsuit model's at Joe Burrow's house, but it's not his girlfriend and it's an employee? Like, where there's smoke, there's fire, Eric?
Well, it's a fascinating story, and it's the latest in a string of athletes who've had their house burglarized while they're on the road playing. I mean, the whole world knows they're not in town and that they're on the road. So people are capitalizing on this. The supermodel angle is not one I thought of too much. I do know that Burrow's Joe made headlines recently because he bought a Batmobile. They were selling,
and I do love that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
By the way.
Well, I think it's cooler that he's got the supermodel myself. But sure, some guys like Batman, and that's fine too. But this guy, this is the sort of thing you never see in the NHL, right? Like, they're taught from a young age to just be beige and fit right in and don't be a blowhard because you're shunned in the room your whole career if you've got a personality. We saw that with PK Subban and other guys like him. Joe Burrow buying Batmobiles and collecting supermodels, like, it just ups your status. It's amazing that we're talking about him. The whole country of America is talking about him right now for those two things as well. So, God bless America, boy. They love to make the headlines.
Hey, well, now that we're the 51st state, apparently, I read that on Twitter. Now that we're the 51st state or whatever, first of all, if no more 41 cents on the dollar exchange rate, this is great. And if Joe Burrow is going to let other nerds drive the Batmobile, hey, I'm all in. Hey, it's a good thing he's got supermodels on Batmobiles, because I don't think he's getting a Super Bowl ring anytime soon, not as long as the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are still there. All right, my friend, it's Eric Francis, Inside the NHL for Southie Mainline Chrysler, the king of trucks. It's worth the drive every time, guaranteed. We're going to take a break here on the all-new Sports Cage. We're going to come back. We'll recap our Christmas bracket, and we're going to talk some Saskatchewan Rattlers basketball with Brennan Elliott. It's the all-new Sports Cage on 620 CKRM, and we're also streaming online at sportscage.com.